Thank you very much. My name is Babak Hosseinian, and I'm from London in England, and I've been working in the SAP field ever since version R2. And I've focused on different areas, starting off in basis, then security, then finance, and now GRC. I have a background also in the financial services industry around private equity and mergers and acquisitions. And I've worked with a number of major multinational companies around all over the world. So, yeah.
Very good. So, why have you come to this year's SAPinsider event?
I was trying to really last time I came was in Barcelona. That was about 2 or 3 years ago. First event I came to was in 2007 in Las Vegas, and I wanted to see if there's any new step change in the GRC area that I need to keep abreast with. And also to gauge how other companies are doing on their maturity along the GRC track.
Very good. So, looking over the last 3 days, you've obviously been here since day one. What would you say is some of the highlights of the last 3 days from your GRC standpoint?
Well, SAP's future really is based on HANA. And so I guess the main highlight for me is seeing how SAP is trying to make sure GRC is aligned with the HANA model going forward.
And do you feel that actually looks feasible, that HANA and GRC is going to work quite well together, or do you see some potential challenges in having that work?
Well, the good thing is a number of people behind the actual HANA software and device in the beginning are also now in the GRC solution area. And what they're doing is moving enabling the ability to install GRC software and run it on HANA. However, the performance benefits won't be immediately seen until they start redeveloping the actual GRC software to be HANA optimized.
Very good. And do you think if you were to give a timeline perhaps on when the symbiotic relationship is going to work at its best, when do you think, how many years do you think before it's really going to be a good and valuable setup?
Well, they've committed to it, and they're putting all the weight behind it now. SAP is a huge company, and with software development centers all around the place. I'd give it 2 to 3 years to become quite stable and mature.
Very good. Yeah. So with competitors in the GRC field, is there anyone that you believe is sort of on the same level as SAP or might be a direct competitor with where these guys are going?
The main competitors for GRC that I've seen in the past were companies like BWise and the process control area, and Approver and BizRight's software around access control and process control. I think SAP's heavy investment in this field has really, and integration with the different parts of the GRC software, such as risk management, process control and access control, is really laying the path forward and bringing lots of benefits to businesses that the other companies can't keep up with. I mean, how are you going to compete with SAP with providing they're committed to developing that software? So I see all, and plus most of the customers I've seen who were not on GRC are now moving to GRC. So, yeah.
Okay. So, just talking customers, as you said, there's a tendency to go towards GRC. How is the general adoption, do you think, of the GRC, and what is the trends that you are seeing in the clients you've been working with?
Okay, well, more and more you see on the news issues about poor management practices and corruption and just inappropriate management of risk in many organizations. As an example, there's a big oil spill that took place not so long ago. So companies are under more pressure to control these risks. Now, more and more processes are running on IT systems, and how can you automate the risk management functions throughout a multinational organization? This is where the benefits of risk management come in. Now, it's a lot of companies are also driven to control their risks from actions that result from an audit engagement. So you'll have an external auditor who will come in and point out critical issues that need to be addressed. And to solve these issues generally requires implementing some software like SAP GRC.
Okay. So looking at customers once again, if a client came up to you tomorrow and said, Babak, I'm going to try and implement GRC.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? What would you give him as an advice to get on the right track with this implementation?
Okay, what's their driver for implementing GRC? The software is only good if it's going to be used. And so the business needs to be committed to using the software. Otherwise, you'll implement the software and it will just be sitting in the corner, not being ever logged into and just ignored. But generally, you can start off and get immediate benefits by implementing things like access control, specifically starting with something like elevated access management, or what used to be called firefighter. And that will give you a good position to convince your auditors that you're making a step in the right direction. At a management level or investor level, they want to make sure that strategic objectives can be achieved. How can you control risks control achievement of your objectives? Then you can implement other software like SAP GRC risk management. In the beginning, these products were sort of new, but they've developed, they're becoming more mature, they've ironed out the bugs, and the software's adding a lot of value. But I'd say an initial starting point would be access control.
Okay, very good. Yeah. So doing the same question, but now if I were a candidate coming up to you and I'm young on the journey of GRC and I need to know, how do I enter the world of GRC? How do I become yourself in your level of experience? What would you advise to an aspiring consultant like that be?
So similar to the previous answer, that GRC addresses a number of different layers in the business, whether it's the top level at strategy level or down to a sort of granular security level or basis level. A junior person is not generally going to be at the top strategy level, so I'd expect them to be doing basis type activities or maybe security work. That's a good field to start off because you'll understand things like general computer controls, setting password parameters, or making sure that users are assigned roles or building roles and assigning the right transactions to those roles. These activities are done by security people, and GRC software complements the services that they provide by automating certain things and applying certain controls. But GRC also takes into account the business benefits and the business need and driver for these activities. So if a junior person is in one of those fields, they can leverage GRC to jump into the business area a bit more, and then move their way up the track into things like process control and ultimately risk management, and maybe even into strategy management.
Okay, very good. So it's a journey. It's not something that you have an immediate and direct route in. That you can come in there from different sides.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
I've had teams of GRC experts made up of different backgrounds. I've had chartered accountants in my team, and I've had basis and security people. So it varies. Yeah. Very
good. Okay. Well, I'm sure everyone is like to hear that. So you can come in from many ways.
Yeah.
Good. So I think that the last question on today's agenda is really just wrapping up. Over these last 3 days, what is the one thing that you would take away from these sessions you've attended over the last 3 days?
Well, this event isn't just a GRC conference. It's also CRM, BW, and whatever else, finance, HR. I'm starting to see a sort of bit more awareness amongst the different areas of integration of the different components and the sort of benefits that each solution brings to the other. That's one great benefit. In the early days, it was almost 3 separate events within one building, but now they're a little bit more, people are more aware of the other products. The other benefit, or the other highlight for me, is seeing really the emphasis and support of the Hana part of SAP, and moving GRC in the Hana direction. It's not being left behind in any way. No, there's a strong focus from SAP and a strong desire from businesses as well to have GRC capabilities performing well too. Reporting needs to be real-time, on the spot, globally available, and that's one of the benefits. Another highlight for me is a new field of GRC called fraud management. And that, I mean, if you think of the case for the fraud management software was quite well put. If you were to say 5% of all business is lost to fraudulent activity, then 5% of global trade is in the trillions. If you can reduce that loss to fraud by less than 1%, you'll have saved global trade vast amounts of money. So that's the objective and the desire and the vision of the fraud management team. So they've got a good start, the software is looking good, and that to me is another highlight of this conference. Okay.
Great stuff. Well, Babak, thank you very, very much for being in on this little interview.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, one more thing. I'd like to say thank you to you and to Red Commerce, who I've dealt with in the past, both as a candidate and as a client who's been recruiting candidates too. So Red Commerce has a global presence and very professional people. So thank you very much.